Right, so I'm in a practice version of OneFile here. So Owen showed you some really excellent examples which we've had to crop appropriately to keep the, if you like, the confidentiality of the excellent HST candidate that provided that sort of example for us. What I'm looking at here is a kind of fictional HST trainee, and let's just simply navigate to that module so that we can talk about it. So, you know, what is the showcase module? Where does it exist? It exists in OneFile. What is it? It's a module in OneFile, and I'm going to get to it. So let's just go to the trainees portfolio. Then I prefer navigating to modules via the gap analysis view. So I'm just going to select that via progress here. And that gives me that one-page view of all of my various HST kind of modules. Let me just collapse that. So, you know, what can we see now? You already know, and you're already used to making submissions against the 5 domains. So the HST IAPS showcase module is an additional module that we have attached to your portfolio. It doesn't count towards the overall progress figure that you get, that needs to get to 100% by the end of the program. So the modules that count towards the 100% are the domains. So this is what we call a zero-weighted module. And if I just open it up, and it's exactly as you saw in Owen's screenshot, we've got 5, if you like, items, criteria, standards, whatever you want to call them here, inside OneFile, 1 for each of the domains. And what we can see here are we've got 5 separate specific submissions against them. And let's just open one at random. Let's go for domain 3. And what do we have here? Importantly, this submission is only mapped to that item in the showcase. We've had a few examples, and some quite recently, where people are trying to do 2 or 3 things at once, and I would counsel against that. Don't try to cover, you know, a couple of items in standard 3, standard 4, standard 1, and the showcase at the same time. It is in your best interests to make this separate, single, and specific, so that it's very clear for your examiners what you are submitting. Because if you're trying to cover other things with this, then it makes it difficult for you to construct your narrative about what it is you have selected and what the evidence is. So you can see, and I hope it's legible. Let's maybe give it another increase here. There we go. You can see I've just sort of extracted, if you like, a little template from the kind of good practice that Owen screenshotted for you here, is that, you know, if you, the more that you can provide in your narrative, the better it is for you. So, you know, you can see there that that statement about what you were responsible for and what you did really helps your examiners. In the early IAPS examiners were saying people threw evidence at us, but we didn't see the individual's role. So let's make it clear. Let's have that in your narrative, so that already frames the evidence you're going to look at. And as I said before, don't just sort of empty a carrier bag full of, you know, spreadsheets and PDFs and PowerPoints as attachments without saying things about them. So at minimum, say something about each piece of evidence. So, you know, the document I'm calling evidence number 1, what is it? It was produced for this purpose. This is my role in this. This is what it represents. Help your examiner to understand what you have attached. And what you can see as I scroll down a bit more is that there's a little bit of discipline in the naming and the numbering. It's not as impressive, in fact, as the example that Owen gave you, where you know, they had footnotes and so on inside the narrative. But, you know, what we're indicating to you here, again, is make it clear to your examiner what it is, what you did, what the evidence is, so that you know, there's a bit of care in the construction of each submission. So if I just scroll that down, kind of everything we're really looking for should be on your screen right now. The good narrative, the good naming, the good numbering, the good document naming, the good organisation, and that's what each of the examples I've submitted into the showcase are. And so really, if I can just pick up my a little PowerPoint. Oh, and maybe this is a slide. It's going to echo several of yours, but let's merge them for a future version of this. It's a one slide sort of summary here that, make it one submission per domain, make it specifically mapped to that domain only. In other words, don't try and cover other things at the same time. It's about that clarity, specificity, singularity. We've had the exact opposite in some of the IAPS, and it doesn't help your examiner when you're trying to do other things or talk about or submit a map to other standards at the same time. So, 5 good narratives, 5 good submissions. In other words, it's keeping it clean, it's keeping it clear for your examiner. And I'm echoing that answer to the question that I think it was James. You can and you should be reusing evidence already submitted, but that renaming, that reorganizing will help you too. So in other words, the point is to select, it's to organize and reorganize, and that could involve some renaming and to narrate. The narrative might be different from the original submission, because the original submission might be mapped simply to a very specific sub-item, if you like, of one of the standards of proficiency. We're looking for sort of global summaries of your mapping or your coverage of the standards of proficiency. So in other words, and it's really my final points, and it does echo what Owen has been saying, it's a narrative that summarizes the work, that helps you. It's a narrative that introduces the evidence, that's going to help you. What is this evidence? What does it represent? Where did it come from? And good naming and numbering, always going to help you there. And if you can follow those 3 points in a single submission, you will be making your examiner's job straightforward and setting yourself up. And in fact, you'll be setting yourself up having, if you like, already prepared your narrative, and you're going to be echoing that narrative itself in the interview, because in fact you haven't just thrown stuff at people. You've thought about how you want to pitch this, so the pitch is already pre-prepared, and you're kind of a few steps towards where you want to be with the interview.